And whether it's accurate or not, the perception does exist that the Conservative Party has failed to be a place where people of diverse backgrounds feel my voice can be heard, I can feel safe here, I can be a participant in the Conservative message and Conservative direction of this country. Why is the Conservative Party not able to break through that barrier?
Well, I just believe that's completely false. That is a mainstream media narrative that many of the major networks like to try to concoct. We've got a prime minister and Justin Trudeau, leader of the Liberal Party, who literally did blackface so many times that he can't remember. His government punished a public servant for criticizing the way the Liberals handled the blackface incident. We remember what he did to Ms. Cesar Chavin. So in our party, we believe in the fundamental equality of all human beings. We don't play the identity politics game. We believe that every single human being has inherent worth and value. It was John Diefenbaker who brought forward the Bill of Rights. It's Conservatives that believe that the government must be there for all people. We don't reward the rich and powerful the way the Liberals do. So our party has a tremendous amount of grassroots support throughout every ethnic community in this country. We have a very diverse group of MPs. We had some of the most diverse slate of candidates. One of the leadership candidates herself is a Black Canadian who is doing a tremendous job reflecting the diversity of this country. So I completely reject the mainstream media narrative that many of the networks are trying to create, but Canadians understand that it's our party that respects the fundamental value of every single human being, regardless of their race.
I totally hear that, sir, but allow me to push back a bit on that with the fact that you've brought up Leslyn Lewis being a Black woman running for leadership of the party. If she were to win the leadership, she could very well become the Prime Minister of this country. So if you compare the amount of energy and momentum around her story, which arguably was very little, versus someone like Kamala Harris in the United States, there was so much energy around her identity and gaining momentum for the Democrats by putting her in a high-profile role. What's the disconnect here? Why was Kamala Harris lauded and celebrated, and one could argue Leslyn Lewis was somewhat forgotten in the conversation?
You know, that would be a great question for me to ask you and ask your network. Why you spend so much time talking about American politics and highlighting American candidates. Here we have a Canadian candidate. Here we have a Black woman who's running for the leadership of the party. And as for the conversation around the energy around it, you can't look to the CBC to find an accurate reporting of what's going on in the Conservative Party of Canada. There's a tremendous amount of excitement. I think you're going to see Leslyn Lewis placed very, very strong in many, many regions. I'm not going to predict the outcome of the race, but she's generated a tremendous amount of excitement. When you look at what how she's tackled some of these issues based on conservative principles, there is, I'm not surprised that the mainstream media in Canada is downplaying her candidacy while focusing so much time and attention on American politics. It's always been frustrating for me as a Canadian taxpayer that the state broadcaster in this country, CBC, spends so much time and energy covering American politics, using taxpayers' money to cover politics in another country when they ignore and downplay many of the things happening here in Canada, especially within the Conservative movement. So I'd love to hear an answer to that question from your own network.
All right. So we'll put that question to the public broadcaster for you.